Student-centered, hands-on classrooms are really important to me. I try to integrate that as much as I can. It kind of goes to my general philosophy as a teacher, where I do kind of see myself, there's kind of this old cliche of the idea of being a guide on the side, and I really think that's my role as a teacher. There are certain times where I have to be in the front of the room and I have to be maybe delivering introduction or introductory material, but then as much as possible, I like to kind of hand that learning over to the students in a very guided fashion and allow them to kind of wrestle with the information, try to make their own meaning out of the information, and sometimes that leads to some productive struggle, which is very important because students need to be able to work through those problems, both individually, but also on their own in groups. It helps them to learn how to be better communicators, and it also just helps them to understand that in the real world they may encounter a lot of instances where there isn't going to be just this automatic correct answer, and they're going to have to figure out what that correct answer is. I do firmly believe in the idea of inclusiveness of all students. It's very important for all students to walk into our building every day and feel welcome and valued. One thing we've done here at the high school is, both from a faculty standpoint of working with a faculty diversity committee that I've been a member of since its inception, we've also really tried to focus on the students, because that's really what it's all about. So everything from gathering, student data about kind of their feelings of what it is to be in the school, in this building, what's going well, what they'd like to see improved. And then we've actually started a student group as well called A Positive Place. And pretty much their whole objective is to try to help to make our building more inclusive and welcoming. Because ultimately, it should be a reflection of our staff, of our students, and of our entire community that every person here is valued. It's very important that my students are not only academically strong when they're in my classroom, but also that they're emotionally and mentally strong. And so one way that I try to facilitate that in my classroom is, from the beginning, the building of strong relationships between the students and I. And that starts at day one, and that can be everything from just finding out what their interests are outside of school, but also making sure that they know they always have an ally in me if they need someone to talk to, if they want to come in for extra help. The importance of mental health coincides with schools, because you can be very academically strong and still be struggling with your mental health. And eventually that mental health is going to affect students across the board. So anything we can do as a school, and I can do personally, to help students recognize that it's okay, that we all sometimes, we sometimes have down days, but then also there's sometimes something bigger at play, is important, because students need to know that they're not alone and that help is available if they need it. As Teacher of the Year, one of the main areas I'd like to focus on is how we are helping to prepare our students for a future in an ever-changing world. And I think sometimes it's easy to think, well, we're in Iowa, and what does that mean for us? But as our world has become more globalized, that includes all different areas of our state, that includes all different types of industry, obviously from farming even to manufacturing. And so when we're thinking about what that ever-changing world looks like, it could be the demands of corresponding with someone who's across the world. It could also have something to do with the ability to speak multiple languages. But ultimately, I want my students to have the skills that will help them be successful. So for example, in the social studies classroom, one way that we've tried to help equip students with those skills is through our social studies inquiry standards. And those are giving students a lot of different transferable skills that will help them in any area, whether that's in a different class or even in a future career. An example of those inquiry skills would be able to do everything from being able to make a claim and understanding how to support that with evidence, but also when students are viewing sources, are they able to check the validity of those sources and make sure that they are giving informed opinions, or that they are passing on information that we would consider factually correct. The last year of teaching has been one of the most challenging years I've ever experienced. This is my 20th year in education, and so obviously my career, I would say I've experienced a lot of different events that could affect what life is like for the average teacher. The past year was like being a first-year teacher again. And I'm naturally a pretty optimistic and positive person, but we all have our days where last year I think brought a lot of teachers to their breaking point. One positive I would definitely pull out of the last year, though, was the way that my colleagues and I were able to rise to the occasion of teaching during a pandemic. I could not have survived the last year without my colleagues. The way that we worked in our professional learning communities to make sure that we were still delivering high-level content and curriculum during a trying time where some days we saw half of our students, some days we saw all of our students, and then we were also teaching students online. So without the support of my colleagues, there was no way I would have been able to make it through the past year. I am extremely honored and humbled to be representing all teachers in Iowa during the next year when I'm serving as Teacher of the Year. Although I currently teach at Pleasant Valley High School, which is in eastern Iowa, I am proud to say that I started my teaching career at Benton Community High School, which is a rural district compared to my now suburban district. I can't wait over the next year to be able to travel around state to talk to teachers who are teaching in all kinds of schools and districts and to be able to help celebrate all of the awesome things that Iowa teachers are doing.